everybody. Welcome to the first of our quadrilogues. Now, quadrilogues it's just a way of saying four people dialogue. But for those of you who don't know, my name is Ethan. I run 5 to Midnight here. And we recently released a program called TIAMAT X. So we're doing a series of conversations called quadrilogues where we talk to past participants. In this case, we'll also talk to some experts that are coming in from different fields over the next few weeks to talk a little bit around TIAMAT for the most part, but to get a sense of what does it mean to transform? What does it mean to practice? What does it mean to practice transformation? So these are the kinds of conversations that we'll be having as we move through. And then today I'm joined by three lovely folks. Those of you who are familiar with my work might have seen or heard of Ellie, who is my beautiful partner. And then we also have Vojta Hlaváček from Czech. This is called Czech-ing In because both our guests are from Czech. But Vojta runs, I think, is it the second most popular podcast or the most popular podcast in Czech?
No, it's like educational one is like number one, but like from all the podcasts, no man, it's like the number one is the true crime stuff, right? Like first 10 places is true crime usually, and then somewhere around there we
great. So we can say top in the education sector, which is the podcast is called Brain We Are, and you guys have been partners with us in Czech for the longest time. It's been 3 years now. And then we're also joined by Lucie, who is a participant from the containers that we did this summer. So I want to welcome all of y'all for just joining me on this. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. This will be kind of like 45 minutes of kind of free-form dialogue, right? Might be shorter, might be longer, but it's also an opportunity to ask questions and anything that might provoke you, or you want to offer some feedback or raise a question, by all means drop it into the chat. I have it open here live, and so Ellie does as well. We'll try and feed that in and answer as best we can, right? So my dear guests, if you would do me a favor and just introduce yourself a little bit in kind of like a round for folks who don't know you all and what you do, that'd be awesome. Let's get started.
Can I propose that we do a check-in as well? So like a brief introduction and a check-in.
Yeah. What are you coming in with? Yeah.
I need it. So I'm Ellie, General Manager of 5 to Midnight and Ethan's partner. Right now I'm feeling very frazzled because of like the technical kind of stuff, and also I'm a bit like I have something like, oh, I thought this would be a casual conversation, but now it feels so formal. And then I feel myself like, oh, okay, how do I need to attune and like appear? And then as I say that, it's also kind of like I feel kind of okay that I'm in this state. Like, I guess that's what it is. Yeah, so that's where I am.
Yeah, I feel you with the maybe a little bit of stress about, oh my God, this is like real life and everything. It's stressing me out a bit, but I was really looking forward to talk with you guys again. So I feel a lot of excitement too. And in my body, I feel like well rested. So I think this is going to be fun. I think that there's going to be some new ideas and just, getting back a little bit to TIAMAT mindset. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'm a bit tired. I feel like I'm having this, like, I'm recognizing a similar feeling I usually have of like reconnecting to something that was very alive in the past, and like just coming back to it, but like I don't really have access to stuff. Like I almost like cut off from the things. Like, so I feel like I'm empty, but I usually feel kind of empty, but then I need the process of it just comes and it awakens through the conversations and stuff like that. That's probably why I do podcasts, because that's where it awakens through me. So yeah, so kind of empty, kind of like, yeah, recognizing this feeling. So I'm quite alright with it already throughout the years, and kind of looking forward to what are we gonna explore today. So yeah, looking forward to it.
You're muted.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Yeah, like I feel I'm like I have a little bit of like apology here because of the technical difficulties that we ran into that delayed our start, and then now that we're sort of in it, it still hasn't quite quelled. Like there's a way in which the body still holds that a little bit. Yeah, so I'm with that. Thanks for calling for this, by the way, Papa. Like I think it's necessary. I kind of run into it. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm with, and I think if I sort of let that sit, what sort of pops up for me is actually like, I haven't actually seen you guys in a while. It feels that way, but we saw each other 3 months ago now, something like that, right?
Yeah.
How have you guys been? Like, and I know we have to talk about it roughly around the topic of TIAMAT, but I'm also just genuinely interested as like friends, right? How have you guys been since I've seen y'all?
Well, I've been like, I've had like a better like month and a half, 2 months. It was good. It was like got back to work because I had like 2 months of like not working almost at all. So went back to work and stuff. It was good. Relationship B also is developing. There's like interesting stuff going on with like totally new avenues and totally new situations that I've never experienced in my life. So I'm learning. I'm learning to listen to what is the most relevant thing. Although, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a big topic. But yeah, so I'm learning this thing, and yeah, still dealing with the health issues is really sometimes very, very difficult. With like just existing stuff sometimes. The most difficult part about it is that it's constant. So it's like I don't really get like, just rest for a month or something. I get better days, maybe a week, but yeah, that's about it. So dealing with that, I had a good month, and now kind of crashy. So like health wise, but other than that, I feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of things on that. Yeah, but let's go.
Sorry.
Let's hear. No, go on. I'm just clocking a few things. Yeah.
Okay, it's just the last 3 months were pretty busy, like in the work, a lot of conferences, and like I was working like even at weekends because of some events, so not enough rest. But a lot of things that I was working on for the last year, I guess, kind of like end up in some way, and the results were very good. So I have some things to be proud of, which is really nice. This month is more like to relax and to integrate everything because it was really busy and wild. I would say I've met several nice people, so new people in my life, which is great. And yeah, I think I'm feeling good because all the friendships I have are just something that holds me, and that's perfect. And yeah, now it's trying to like, think about the whole year, what happened, because Tiamat done a lot of things to me in a good way. So now I'm trying to like sit with all the events of the last 3 months and kind of like, connect the dots and just understand everything that was happening. Yeah.
Papa, do you have something to throw into that? You're included in this as well.
Yeah, in the beginning I was like, am I a guest? But anyway, since the Euro trip, coming back to this part of the world, I think I took my time to settle back in with work, with teaching, and social events, like I took it really slow. Like I wasn't like, okay, I'm back, let's meet all the friends, or like, you know, let's go into it full speed. But the last month has been quite hard because with the, you know, the launch of what's happening next year, and then also it just happens to be some of the school deadlines too, of what, like I'm teaching in like a college, a private college, so it's like the thesis submission date alongside the sales for TIAMAT, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and then even when I feel that I'm sleeping actually enough, but I don't feel rested when I wake up, and that's been a bit frustrating.
Mhm.
And I kind of don't know what to do about that. Like, yeah. So kind of trying different things and attuning, okay, maybe if I be more intentional with how I do certain things, or like, you know, say no to some other conversations that might be good to have at a time where I have more capacity,
Mm.
or just less to do. Um, yeah, but still in the process of figuring that out.
Yeah, all that's really great. Like I love what I'm hearing from you guys. So, you know, something that I'm sort of drawing just thematically is life is hard. And I've recently been thinking about this as like, you know, with TIAMAT X sort of going out. And I question this aspect of my work all the time, which is around this thing of like, hey, is this actually helping people's lives get better? And the question of what that necessarily means. Because for some people, right, life getting better means making more money, right? For some people, having a better life means being more rested, right? Or having a certain degree of energy to do the things you want to do. For some people, it means, you know, having better relationships, right? Or being in relationships in a better way. And I'm hearing themes like that sort of around stuff that you guys have shared. So because there is a context around this with regards to TIAMAT, I want to double click on what you had said earlier, Lucie, of like, you know, TIAMAT's done a lot in my life. I'm actually really curious, like, what does that mean? How has it shown up? Because what I try and do is I don't try and hound people or chase you guys down to like, hey, use this stuff or like do this. You know, I'm not a hand-holdy kind of guy, but that means that there are long periods of time where I don't have contact with folks so that y'all can go live with the impact of what that is. And if we see each other again, that's great. And I love it. But I'm curious what you mean by that. How have you seen that? You've done tier 1 only thus far, right? Yeah.
So I think what's changed, and I'm really grateful for it, is the way I organize my time. It's more intentional because, you know, I was struggling with the performance and being seen and doing all the activities. I think I am busy as I was before. That hasn't changed. But now it's more that I realize, like, okay, I'm overstepping some of the boundary of the energy that I have for the day. This is like, you know, I'm doing extra, so has to be a day that I'm gonna be free without any activities, without any tasks, and trying to find a better balance in this. And also, I've just created like a map of all the projects I'm in, and I was able to like set up a goal that until the year I'm gonna get rid of like 60% of those projects that aren't that important for me. So I'm like, you know, slowly doing the steps to finish them or to delegate the work for other people, which is really good. And now it's more about what do I really want to do? Like, what's the thing that makes me excited, or what seems really important, that it's something that brings me joy or makes me curious. And this is something I want to really like use my time for. And the other stuff is like, okay, that was an extra. That was something that it's really not that important. So now the reason why I was so busy is that when you plan a conference or something, it's, you know, a year before when you take the date and everything. So It was like finishing a lot of projects. Now I'm gonna be more free, I hope so. And yeah, it's not about to have all the tasks done or the marks or to say that I've achieved this and that. Uh, the first thing that I care about is that how does make it feel like for me, not for the people who's gonna see it. And that changed a lot for me, which is great. And yeah, I'm also struggling with the finding the time for myself to like relax, but in the last few weeks it's got really better. And when we had the talk with Adele and Jay this week for the testimonials, yeah, I realized that what really helped is that TIAMAT helped me to make this like a tiny space before making a decision. Like for example, Jay offered me a job like a photographer for one day on Saturday, and I was like, well, yeah, it makes sense in many ways. It's with young doctors, which will be great for networking, for working with like a photographer for more people. That's everything is great. But last month I haven't stopped for a day. So adding another working day in the next weeks is just a no for me. I need it for myself. And I was like, okay, just let me think about it for like an hour and I'll let you know later if it's, good for me or not. And before TIAMAT, I would say yes. Because I would see only the first, achievements, networking, new contacts, and everything. I would go for it immediately. And I'm like, okay, let's do a check-in with me whether it works for me or not, and then I'm able to like decide more intentionally, I guess. So that's what's changed, and that's helping me a lot. So yeah.
Like you would have reactively said, yeah, okay, and then justify it later of like, oh, there's networking, there's all these stuff that I can get. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that it's like all the things that will help me to move forward or to gain more contacts or I don't know, some new experience. And I kept forgetting that I need to rest. Also, I need to take care of myself. I need some time for my family, friends, and I'm still doing all the activities and work stuff. It's not something I can do forever. So it helped me to make the decisions more intentionally and thinking about not only the achievement I'm gonna get from the task or the activity, but also what it's gonna what I'm gonna lose maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like shifting from, okay, instrumentally what can I gain, to actually how am I being in this place? I mean,
Yeah.
I know that when we talk about questions of like rest or sleep specifically, Vojta's hands go up and they go like resonating, because you wrestle with this on like a daily basis, my dude. Yeah, wondering if anything that Lucie said sort of like prodded something for you.
Yeah, I think mainly because I feel like I was already on this kind of sort of path. And so what TIAMAT did for me was kind of different in a few senses. I think it was more of like an integrative piece of all the things I'm interested in, right? So for me, I think the biggest change for me was I'm finally seeing how this like theoretical stuff that I was really interested in, like cognitive science, like John's work, right? All these things. And so what it did for me is like, if you imagine like mental models being like useful concepts that you name, and actually the naming makes sense because if you name them, you have like, oh, this is like a cognitive bias or like a sort of mental model. I can use that because I have it named. So it's like, this situation, I do this. It doesn't matter how it's named. It doesn't matter at all. It's just for me, for my mind and my brain to come up with that, right? So it's the same thing, but with practice, but with noticing, with like recognizing what's mine and what's others, what's yours, what's others people's stuff, right? All these basic things that we should do in conversation, owning your own shit and like not projecting as much, all these things, all these like basic stuff just like deepened and was put in practice, and I could train it there, and then also like reconnecting to sort of like a mystery or spiritual something that I've also been in a similar path, in a sense of I don't need to like name it, frame it or something. It can just be a feeling inside of me that I don't need to project onto the world. I don't need to be like, this is something I need to name and we have to talk about an object somewhere, but it's a feeling inside of me, right? So it was like kind of deepening this sense of that I've been discovering around 3 years ago, like and the naming it, like the feeling of rightness, all these things, right? So and experiencing it almost intentionally, but you can't experience it intentionally, but you can make practice that's gonna afford something like that, or probably doesn't have to, might afford something, right? So for me it was like very interesting stuff that all was like integrated together. Don't know if it makes sense, but this is like a feeling I have, like some thoughts I have.
Let's see. Like, can you give an example of like what you mean? Because you name this of like owning your own shit, right? Keeping like, okay, what's mine, what's yours? What do you mean by that? Because I'm imagining that we can talk in these terms, but it's almost like an exemplification of what you're saying. We can represent that, but what is that actually looking like in the world? I'm also aware that Ellie and I will talked about this today while we were out at lunch, of like, what is this gap between the layer of representation and actually doing it? So can you give an example of what you mean, bro?
Yeah. So like whenever there is a conversation between two people, it's really easy for me to be like, oh, I like we did something, or we have it like this and that, right? And judge something, like even feeling wise, and just projecting my own framing onto the whole situation, onto the other person. It's like, we did something, it's fucked up or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's horrible. It's horrible. We are cursed forever. And then I can be, oh no, I feel cursed, I fucked up, or I feel we fucked up. How do you feel? Did we fuck up? Did I fuck up? Did you fuck up? Like, you can separate all these things between each separate category, kind of. And I can own my own shit, which is, I don't know what happened. I know how I feel. Or I can know what happened in my own feeling and experience, right?
I can have a story about it, yeah.
But I can own, like, I feel like this. So the most beautiful thing then was to recognize this kind of interaction when you see, and you clearly can see how, if there is like a big, obviously I can't always see that, but if there is a big like mistake in that, or like almost like a foul in conversation or something, it generally be like relationship, friends, colleagues, whatever, recognizing how manipulative it can be from other people. Usually I can see it from like I don't know, like businessy type of thing. So for me it was really easy to then recognize that and be like, no, you felt that, I felt different way, you know? And yeah. So kind of recognizing that, and then recognize it in myself and be like, oh no, I feel like this, and like it's explore how the other person feels, and how it might inform my own my own feeling, right? So yeah, I'm
hearing a couple of things there. One is like, what you're saying is part of it is to not how do I say it, unconsciously fall into someone else's story of how something went and then end up having to take on a part of it, which actually isn't part of your experience at all. And then the second part of it is being able to actually go, okay, you're saying something that implicates me, but that's not my perspective of it. I don't have that experience. That's not part of my world, I suppose. That might be yours. So it's not saying, no, you're telling lies and you're being a manipulator. It's not a blame feature. It's a distinction feature so that there is more space, right? Of like space for curiosity, space to go, hey, how was it for you? Because this is what's happening for me. And I'm sort of noticing also while you were speaking that, like, you know, Lucie, Ellie, you guys were nodding, and I felt something shift for you, Lucie especially. Like, what's that like to sort of hear back again or go through? Is that something that you guys have sort of recognized?
Yeah, when I was listening to Vojta, I realized he used the right words and reminded me some of the concepts from TIAMAT, and it's the shared reality thing. That helps a lot. This whole practice helped me to maybe communicate better in two ways, with myself and with others. And what really helps is to recognize exactly, like, okay, this is your reality, this is your set of like information and feelings, and I get it. You see the reality like this, but it's different for me, and it helps you to create this space or the opportunity to talk about something without judgment. Because you can say, okay, I see that it felt like you felt angry because this and that, but for me it's completely different because I felt those emotions, or it reminded me of some, you know, past trauma or some different situation, or maybe it's something even better. I'm just fucking tired from my work, and that's the reason why I reacted like this. It doesn't have to do anything with the situation we are in now. So all of this, like the ability to recognize your own feelings and recognizing that the people has absolutely different experience in that moment, that really helps to communicate better and not to be judgy like in the first second. Just create the space to talk about it with freedom and with curiosity. So yeah, that's what's happening for me mostly after TIAMAT.
Oh, Papa, want to say something?
I saw Vojta's finger come up.
I just did another like thing like that came up is like, after TIAMAT, it was really clear when, for example, in like a almost like, I don't want to say, no, I can say like toxic relationship is something like that. Like when there's a bit of gaslighting, there's a bit of unregulated emotion on the other side. Like I've experienced also like people with like bipolar almost, or like the what's the other one?
Borderline.
Yeah. Oh my god, TIAMAT is so helpful, because you might be in the situation and might be asking, what the fuck is happening? Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm confused now. I feel like it's very clearly there's something wrong, but I'm not sure if it's me or the other person or the whole situation or whatever is wrong. It's just overwhelming. It's crazy. But with TIAMAT, I was like, oh, I can kind of more clearly now name and recognize what's like. Am I at fault? Is this the whole thing my fault? Like, because I'm being gaslit or something? So it's like, and then no, I can own my experience. It's like, no, I can be standing much more firmly, and I actually can leave the space, because now I can recognize there is not that much confusion anymore. So that was helpful at start, and I literally, the thing is, I don't get into these situations anymore.
Wait, sorry, when you say leave the space, you don't mean like get up and leave the room, right?
No, literally, no. Get up and leave the room. Like, yeah, like recognizing, but get up and leave the room in the sense of also like the whole space between the two people. Like, yes, physically get up and leave the room. Yes, that's one thing. But like in a matter of days and weeks, like separate from that person, because I can like, oh no, that's not the way I want things at all. Like, this is clearly like a bad influence on me, even if it's a friend, even if it's a relationship. And the thing is, I didn't get to experience this often after, because I couldn't get into these situations anymore, because I wouldn't engage with these people, because I would recognize them. And it could be a lovely person, and it could be because of trauma and this and that and developmental wise, and it could be mental illness, but I don't care, in sense of it can really damage you. It doesn't matter what the cause is. I can have empathy, and I do have, but I still want to have more empathy for me, in the sense of, oh, I don't want to engage in this sort of relationship or in this sort of kind of whatever. So it was really helpful for me, like 3 years ago, and to kind of name and recognize things, and being self-critical throughout the process, not being like, oh, I know now. No, like, fuck, is this like, being like really cautious about that.
Yeah, I want to add on, but I need to go a bit further back, and then I'll promise I'll come back to where you've brought us to, Vojta. So I think at the beginning, I mean, I kind of live TIAMAT with, I don't, it's part of my life. I don't see it as a separate practice necessarily, or maybe it's more accurate to say I live like the worldview of TIAMAT. And coming into this, meaning like the beginning stages of Ethan and I dating, I did not understand what shared reality meant. I think there's just one reality, and you either get it or you don't. Like, I didn't understand that we have our own experiences. So I started from there. And then somewhere later on, I realized, okay, we all have unique experiences, and they are so rich. And I have my own experience. Wow. And then it came to a stage where it's like, oh, you have your experience and I have mine, and they are very different. So I can ask about yours and you can ask about mine. But I can also say, like, in times of like arguments or fights that which there have been some, even just between Papa and I can be like, yeah, you might feel that way, but I feel differently. So what? Like, then it becomes like a what's that called?
You're in a contraction.
Yeah, but it's the point of the contraction when nothing can move forward anymore. It's like stuck.
An impasse. You get into an impasse.
Yeah, so it's okay. From there's not just one reality to we have different realities, but we are all separate, and kind of there's no way of bridging it. That's the impasse. And then now what I see is there is a way of bridging that, or like being like, okay, maybe for now I need to put down my experience for a bit and then inquire into the other person's experience, and maybe later on I can find a way of bridging that. And so then at this point, then I learned that conflict is or contraction, arguments can be very important for developing and strengthening a relationship, because there's something that deeply matters to me, and there's something that deeply matters to you, and you matter to me, and I matter to you. So like, let's kind of work it out together. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to thread a line through this, because I think there's a through line that's starting to emerge, right? So, very early on in this call, Lucie, you were talking about that sense of, hey, actually being able to check in with myself, because then now there's a gap for me to not react into something or fall into that unconsciously, right? That I can now take a moment to go, okay, there's this thing that's coming in. What's my perspective on that? How is it landing for me? And then make a decision from that point. And I think that's something that puts us to a bit of a fork, because, Vojta, what you're naming is that, look, if you're in a if you're in like an extreme situation with like a high degree of like toxicity or abuse, and abuse is real, right? So, you know, you're in a situation where it's like, I had this very recently where it's like, I feel like I felt captive to someone else's story of what was happening, right? And there was no quarter, there was no room to shift it, right? It was just like doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. And there's a way in which I felt very trapped by that. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, this is how I'm perceiving it. Can we find a middle way here somewhere? And then in extreme situations, that's very hard to get the room in edgewise to be able to do that. And sort of what you're naming, Ellie, around, and I think we're around this theme of like, what is the importance of shared reality? What's the virtue of shared reality, right? Why do we need it? What is important about it? And I'm hearing in what you're saying, Elle, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something like, look, if I'm oriented towards shared reality, conflict will still happen. There's no such thing as like the objectively true version of events that we're all supposed to agree on. We're actually trying to figure out, okay, how are you seeing it? How am I seeing it? What's between us? And sometimes that process is edgy and crunchy and tough. But if we get used to that process, then, okay, now it becomes actually like, I can't remember the word that you use, Papa. It's like, it's, did you say rewarding for in relationships? What was the word that you said? I forgot it.
Grow, something like strengthening, developing.
Right. Yeah, the way I heard that was like vitalizing. It's what keeps the relationship alive and strong, because it's like, hey, I value our connection, you know, and I hope you value ours too, then we can build on that. So something that I'm concerned about often is, especially when we enter into an ecology of practices, or when people come to TIAMAT, is I'm often afraid that people will take this and go, okay, I've got the superpowers now, so I can just push people away because they don't know what's happening. They don't know the lingo. They don't know the skill. They're whatever, right? And we fall into the problem of what Mark Wing calls the autonomous buffered self. I can self-regulate better. I'm doing things on my own. I'm locked out of the world. There is a way in which I have those concerns, genuinely. And so I'm wondering if you all can speak to that a little bit. How are you all navigating that line between having certain capacities and tools available for you, but also living regular everyday life where you have colleagues and work and people will call you and stuff to do? Like, how are you guys doing that? Or partners to live with?
I want to add something first, and then I need to go and get my laptop charger, so I'll turn off my camera for a bit. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to come back to Vojta at the end of what I was saying, which is that if in certain cases, and like Papa, you've mentioned, for us it's happened quite recently, like what's behind the decision to say, okay, I can't have this relation, or I choose not to be in relation with you anymore. And I think in the past the answer for me was like, oh, whether I have energy or, I always use I often use tired, even though personally for me I don't really know what that means. Sometimes it's like it becomes a catch-all phrase for just like I resistance, or sometimes even like lack of capacity or lack of competence, and my brain just blanked out for a moment.
A lack of capacity or lack of competence, do you mean something like, I don't know how to be in this relationship, like I don't know how to repair this, I don't know how to do conflict resolution?
Yeah, like, or I'm so taken by how I feel right now, I'm not able to shift perspective and be curious and ask you a question. I'm just like confused, and I don't want to be talking to you anymore, something like that. But I think now the way that I think of making that choice is more of like I can choose to continue working and fighting and kind of like trying to get shared reality with this person. But if it hinders me from being in service to the people that I actually want to be in service to, like then I would say that's the no for me. Is easy to understand or
Yeah, Vojta, noticing something shifting for you. Yeah, what's happening there?
Well, first of all, I feel like I can understand that the guts that you're like talking about, and for me there was like it's just I don't know, I had this like how is it called, like I don't know the word now, like I just got in my head a little bit like just kind of thinking about the question of how what you said, Ethan, before, and just what am I dealing with on daily basis if in like it's very hard, it's very overwhelming to like speak about it, and I'm being captured by something for a few years now, which is changing me. I know it's changing me. I'm accepting things and all those things, but it's changing me sometimes in a way I don't want to be changed, and I'm like being afraid of who I'm becoming sometimes, and not really being able to do much about it. But I'm still able to be the observer of the change, kind of, if I have the capacity. And it's one of the scariest things I've ever been through. So for me, it's the daily thing of engaging in like TIAMAT-ish stuff is like really knowing where I want to engage in, with whom I want to engage in, really allowing to sort of cope with healthy stuff, I guess, like more healthy stuff rather than unhealthy. And I do need, like, that's one of the things I'm changing, like that's one of the ways I'm changing in. I need the cope to be able to be with the pain sometimes, um and it's scary, it's really scary to be there and be like, yeah, I know I could be, mainly I could feel in a certain way how I felt. I don't want to like need to do things in the world out there. I kind of like have checked that, kind of checked that's not the driving force. I it might have been, but it's still the biggest part of me was like the driving force, like how I feel inside of myself, in my body, and all these things. So this is kind of for me like on a daily basis, deciding, trying to allow a lot of things, not being like trying not to overwhelm myself and being hard on myself. I so really tough stuff to sometimes do the things that you know are not the best for you, but it would be even worse if you didn't allow them in the future. So it's so hard, and I can't really even explain it. And yeah, I mean, if I like start to think about it more, I get like alienated more and stuff. It's really hard for me to get shared reality with people at this level, because I I don't think that there is access point to it. Like I think at some point it starts to get, well, that's my own issue, that I am that's the thing I can recognize. That's the thing I have to do. Oh, I am how's it called? Alienating myself because I'm self-censoring, because I feel like I'm judging that it would be too hard, it would be frustrating for the other person. And I can see that TIAMAT allowed me to go beyond the level of, no, I will own my shit, I won't frustrate them, I will self-censor. But now I can be, oh, I'm self-censoring, I am feeling all these things, not the other person, and I have to ask, hey, is this okay? I still feel like this, and I still share this shit. Is that okay? How do you feel about it? And then I get, this is fine, this is fine. But now at this point, it was really tough because like, for example, my partner said, oh, I feel bad, my head hurts, and sometimes I have a tendency, because I self-censor, like I have to, because I would all the time I would speak about it, kind of in a sense of like it's alive in me. So whenever this comes out, sometimes I'm like, yes, like, yeah, I have that too. Sometimes not, if it's not true, I don't have that, I'm so sorry to do. But sometimes I do this, and it's frustrating for the other person, so I try not to do it. Really cool when she's able to say that, and I'm like, yeah, oh shit, so I'm so sorry I did that. But yeah, this is my sort of daily thing I have to go through. It's really, really tough sometimes, but yeah, it helps. TIAMAT really helps with this.
So, Lucie, do you have something? I just.
It was really nice to listen to Vojta, because I know that he went through TIAMAT more times than me. For me, it's only one time, and it's still not that intense, I would say. But yeah, it happens sometimes when I'm dealing with some conflict or I'm struggling in the relationships. I remember a lot of the practices we've done, and many times during the day I use the what's behind that. Like, there's the, don't make a first narrative that your brain creates, because that's what it's supposed to do, like, like explain what's happening in real life for you. But there's like, okay, you still can see things in the wrong way. You still don't know everything, just the part of you see. So there may be a different explanation or something, and you ask like whether having this new capacity, because all of the tools that we've gained from TIAMAT, whether it makes it harder to like be in relationships or to work. I don't think so, that I have this problem. It's like, okay, I have maybe more tools, or maybe I can work with the reality in a different way than person next to me or colleagues or whatever, but it doesn't mean for me that I'm someone better or someone who knows better. He's like, okay, I can use this to work with the people in a different way, and not like make myself a superhero or something like this. It's just that maybe when they see it, they can learn from me and we can work it out together. So it's more like, okay, I have these tools that other people doesn't have, but it doesn't mean that I'm gonna like, okay, they're not as good as me, so I'm not gonna have them in my life. It's not like this for me. It's just, okay, I can be a role model maybe in some ways, but I'm still learning. Like, having these tools doesn't mean that I'm the best person and I know how to regulate my emotions. It happened many times during the last month with Jay, when I was like, oh, okay, I'm still not able to see this pattern, and he sees it from a different perspective. It was with the like, I was like, yeah, I'm better in relaxing. It was like, Lucie, no, your calendar is like completely stacked with activities. I was like, oh my god, it's true. So yeah, like with TIAMAT, you gain the ability to see more layers, I would say, but it's ongoing thing. Like, doing one tier one once doesn't mean that you're a superhero and you know everything perfectly. It's still the process of learning, but TIAMAT gets you new tools to do it, which is perfect. Yeah.
Really tickled, because it's like It's like saying, okay, you know, you do this thing, and it's like, all right, great. I've learned some of these capacities. I can show up in my relationships in a way, and actually, those people don't have to come to the workshop, because what they're learning is they're going, oh, you mean it's possible to be upset and also want to figure out what my perspective is? You're not trying to push me into a corner and beat me down. What? And in the doing of that, it's like people start to realize that, hey, that's possible. It's a terrible business model. I think TIAMAT is a terrible business model, because it gets to that point where, like, you know, if enough people do it, it becomes commonplace. And kind of what I'm hearing from you, Lucie, is this sense that, like, you, especially this piece that you were naming around with Jay, where it's like, he's going, Lucie, there's this thing, and you're going, no, there isn't. And it's like, no, it's here. No, Lucie, it's here. Oh shit, actually, I think you're right. Right? And getting that sense of, like, okay, maybe there is a pattern here that somebody else is tracking that I cannot see because I'm in it. I'm in the shit. Right? Whatever that is. And for me, like, that's always been the I don't know, I think maybe I just grew up lonely, but I really love the people that I work with when I do this kind of work, right? Like, Ellie is champion at pointing out, going like, Papa, you have not slept in, like, you know, slept more than 6 hours in like 2 weeks. You know, and you were asking me this question the other day, which is still haunting me, of like, hey, you know, is your current workflow sustainable? Is that something you want to do? And I don't consider that question, because I was like, I'm like, yeah, build 2 websites, you know, run the lecture around 5 to midnight, go plan all this stuff. To me, it feels reasonable, but I need the perspective of someone who cares in a different way, from a different place, to help me care about myself in a different way too, you know. So this kind of like circling around this question of, like, how are you guys negotiating your relationships, like romantic or otherwise, like even with your friendships? How have those changed? How have they, what have you seen happen in those relationships, whether they are new ones or they are ones that you've had for a long time? Like, Vojta, I know you and Crystal have been friends forever. Right? Like, you know, Lucie, you and Jay have also sort of like known each other for a long period of time, and something, I imagine something shifted because both of you attended the workshop together. Ellie and I obviously have a relationship here that has gone through multiple changes. So I'm fascinated by this. If we are not going to pull away from people and say, I have superpowers, you guys don't, bye-bye, right? We are in relationship with others. How do those shift? Yeah. And this is amazing. So Bradley comes in with this question from the chat, which is almost what I've just asked. How are you all able to navigate interpersonal? Hi, Bradley. To navigate interpersonal dynamics with these tools in a generous capacity? By which I mean, what has TIAMAT afforded your capacity for kindness? And I love that you're bringing at least bringing the virtue of kindness. Yeah, go ahead, guys. This is free and easy chat.
I mean, for me, it created a bit of a space in relationships. Like with Christoph, we know each other for 8 years now. Very intense friendship with. We are also colleagues now, business partners now, everything. And it allowed for both sides to have a bit of a space, and for me not to go into. I would kind of forfeit some of my frustrations and break down in in a cycles, like each year or 2 years, you know, huge breakdown, and then everybody would say sorry and stuff. So I would be able to much more be able to say, oh, this is alive here right now, like I feel this and this and that. Still took me time, it was still hard, but allowed for more clear space between us in relationships. Yeah, there is like it's I don't know, for me, I almost felt I've been like too much on the side of like savior kind of savior stuff, like really jumping in a lot, really hurting myself a lot, just like being taken by the emotional life and everything of the other person, just kind of like understanding and actually like talking about it clearly, kind of what it's going on. So for me, in some sense, how kindness show up for me, and it's like it's so obvious when you look at it like back. It's I know, for example, if I need to like break up or whatever, I know I need to be clear, and I need to like say what's alive, and that's kinder than not doing that and kind of being like trying to please the other person and stuff, not to make them sad or whatever. Yeah, so yeah, but it was one of the hardest things that I have to keep doing. Like, yeah, and in relationships, there was the thing like that showed up was I was like, I could clearly come like, I'm like this is what I'm looking for, what's alive in a sort of like relationship stuff, what I want. And it was like kind of short term relation or whatever stuff it was. And now I have like almost 1 year relationship, and it's again like the same thing. Oh my god, like showing up and telling someone that it's really hard to get used to their a kid, like that's crazy. That's like we talked about it a little bit. Like I've noticed the kindness showed up in really weird way when I could keep it. I could self-censor, keep it in myself, feel frustration, being like, oh, it's my thing. I like deal with that stuff. But like, no, it's in relation. This thing is literally in relation. I have a feeling because there is a partner and she has a kid, and it's like, whoa, that's a big deal. And I was like, oh, that's fine, that's cool. But then you in there and you feel things you've never felt before, and you feel kind of bad, like, why do I feel these things? And then I notice, oh, I could say kind of a comment that would spark an emotional response, or there would be like a tone of frustration or almost emotional manipulation, because I would say like in a sense of just saying a normal thing out of frustration that's happening all the time in a relationship, but catching that and saying, hey, I almost said this in a way it would almost like hurt you. I don't want to say that. I have a tendency to do that now. And it was really soft. It was almost nothing. And catching that, saying, I'm sorry, I'm frustrating because of the kid, and I have to deal with this, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna deal with this. But this is how it is now, and I don't want to say emotional bullshit that that would just be like implicit things if I didn't catch them. So I make them explicit, and much kinder than implicit bullshit that would be going on.
Yeah, I was thinking that you want to do some reaction, Ethan, but I guess it's up to me now. How relationships are for me. Well, I think I become better at maybe explaining or showing up my emotions, my feelings when it comes to like, communication. And I was a big people pleaser, and I realized like the kindness, it's not about only being kind to others, but you have to be kind in the same way, like it balance it out. Because when you're only kind to others, that can mean that you're doing something really bad for yourself and not taking care of yourself. So I've become better at this after TIAMAT. And yeah, I've got this big fear of when I'm not gonna perform, when I'm not gonna be perfect for others, when I'm not gonna keep my word. It's gonna ruin the relationships. But now, when you're showing up and when you honor yourself, it's really better. For example, like this week, we have planned out a meeting with the girls from the community, and one of them wasn't able to make it. She just let us know like hour before the meeting, and I was like, well, yeah, it would be really good for me to have a free afternoon after all the work, but at the same time, I want to see the girls, but I'm tired. I know there are different tasks I have to make, so I was like, okay, girls, I have the time. We like, make it time for it in our calendars. I still want to see you, but this is my energy. This is what I can offer to you. We can meet at my place, have some food, but I know I'm gonna be a little bit running around and dealing with other stuff. And it was absolutely okay because they know what to expect. I know what I can give. I haven't felt bad because I'm not on my 100% energy and everything. And we enjoyed it even if it was like this. So yeah, TIAMAT helps you to honor yourself and not being your 100% self all the time. It doesn't matter. You can still be on 20% and still show up for the person and still be there. But when you communicate it right, it makes everything easier. And that happens with my family, with other friends, with all the relationships I have. Yeah.
I think this is kind of like a really big question because I feel like my mind kind of like I have 5 half answers in my head. And I need to kind of okay, just pick one to go down. And I think to build on what you both have said, I think there's a big piece there about like self-compassion. Realizing that I feel first of all, realizing that I feel certain things because I think in the past similar also people pleaser and like really really scared of conflict and people being upset and or sad around me. So when that happens, I'm either trying to prevent a scenario like that from happening, or when it happens, then I'm like trying to figure out how to fix it. So that makes it really hard for me to be present with what I am experiencing. So that was like the first step that kind of opened up a new world for me within in TIAMAT. Um, and then also Lucy, what you said about like being able to just bring whatever you're with to the situation without feeling like, oh, I still do feel like this. I'm sorry that my energy is not like 100%. I'm sorry I'm not more like happy and energetic, but I'm here and I want to be here even and my energy is at this level, or my mood is kind of shitty. That's fine. We can still go ahead and see what comes out of this situation or this encounter. And then I think a part that I've been really working on and my one of like the hardest struggles is to be able to shift perspective. So like if someone is telling me something, like they experience something and they feel a certain way and I wouldn't feel the way that they feel in that situation, it is quite hard for me to be like, oh, how come how come you feel like this? Or like what's underneath that? My reactive um my reaction is often no. Like, no, that's not how that's not how I would say in my head I would say that's not how people would feel, but actually what I mean is that's not how I would feel. And then being able to um realize that that reaction is happening and like I feel kind of like want to challenge or like kind of like wanting to go opposite and being like, okay, maybe I just shift a little bit and ask from a different angle, or just let what I um want to put across, go for a little bit and be curious about the other person's experience. And most times I learn something new, not just about the other person, but also that, oh my gosh, there is this possibility in the world that someone has that kind of experience because of that kind of a background, or different kinds of values and motivations that they might have, and that discovery process is really beautiful and enriching. Yeah,
it's a similar thing. I'm glad that you brought that up, babe, because I'm hearing a few things, right? One is when we're navigating interpersonal dynamics, right, or I call them complex relational dynamics. Some of them can get very complex, and I say that because I feel a lot of care for what you were just sharing, Vojta. And we've talked about this of like, suddenly there's a small human being here that I'm responsible for, to a certain degree, the development of. No one chose that, no one elected that, right? It's like it's in the context, and that necessarily shifts everything about my world. What I thought I knew, what I wanted to do, what patterns I'm used to, right? Ways to navigate inner experience, but also just how much time do I have to sleep? That's a very different thing. My degrees of comfort shift. And I thought it was really important what you had said of like, there's a way in which I can be very emotional about this and say something that hurts the other person, but I can now catch that first and go, oh, I want to say this thing, but I can now drill down into what's important for me that gets me to that point. Why does this arouse me so much at all? Right? There must be something I care about it. And now I can name that. And I've had this with Ellie sometimes where I've gone like, oh, I really want to say something very unkind. It must mean that I'm bothered. Like, I am bothered about something. I'm not getting something that I actually want. There's an unmet need here. What is that? Oh, that's the thing, right? So the simple way is instead of telling somebody fuck off, it's like, okay, I'm really desiring space to be quiet. Like I feel confused. I feel like overwhelmed, which is actually everything that's implicit within the fuck off. I thought that was like quite powerful. The thing that's very different for me is, ladies, what you have both named about being people pleasers. I'm not a people pleasing person, so I don't fucking get that at all. And I say that because I think it's an exemplification of what you were saying earlier, Papa. Like when you're with people, when you're in a conflict scenario with somebody, you want to fix it, right? And that's a motivation. I want to apologize, or I want to fix this, or I want this person to like me, right? That is a very alien experience for me, because I only reserve that for people I actually care about. Like when I want someone to like me, is because they mean something deeply to me, and that's for the most part how I separate out people who I really trust and people who I don't. Because the people who I really trust, I care what they think. I really care. And it disturbs my entire system. Like I can, in that sense, I'm not fully alienated from people pleasing, but it's very local, right? But also I can say this to Elle's credit. It's like kind of what you're naming is like, look, you are so different from me that if I try you on, I can learn another way of being that I wouldn't have otherwise known. So something that's really like come up for me is in the past year that I've been with Ellie is like, oh, I actually don't have to know someone that well to be conscious of how I might appear to them or how they might be impacted by what I say, right? In a way, I'm a little bit more sensitive than I used to be, maybe about 2 years ago before I was with Ellie. Because at that point, I was very hard boundaried, right? but now I'm letting folks in a little bit more. And the tough part about that, Vojta, you were speaking to this a bit earlier, is like, if I let people in, now I have to be aware of where my attention, my presence can necessarily be. If I put a lot of effort into this relationship, that's going to take me away from this like other network of relationships that I might need to put my attention on. So why would I be in a, let's say, be in a toxic scenario, as opposed to, I can choose not to do that, as painful as it might be to like let the sun set on that relationship responsibly, reasonably, because this network needs me to be more present, needs me to be more full. Something like that. Is that fair? Is that a fair capitulation of what you were pointing at, Vojta? I want to make sure that I didn't misattribute.
Yeah, I think so. I think, the stuff I was talking earlier was, for me exactly. Not just network of relationships, but like life in general. I have to deal with, and something might even be like, it was like a kind of like, it might be even hurting you, right? So it's just realizing that I'm being the kindness towards yourself, to be able to have the boundaries, and exactly again with the people pleasing stuff. I am in that camp as well, or was more. Now it's better. So it's similar, but just even more general. Not the network of people, but network of activities, people, and everything around.
Wow. I learned so much from you guys, actually. Yeah, I feel some nostalgia, so I'm taken by it. There's a part of me that really misses sort of being with you all, because it's such a different way of life. What I'm also curious about, sorry, just to kind of recenter, is there's a lot of like pop culture, pop psychology stuff going on. So there's in a lot of ways, in some ways I think that's good. In other ways, I think that's potentially confusing or harmful, for lack of a better term, right? It can be taken that way. And sometimes I wonder to what extent, when I offer something, it's like it's going to get sucked into that space. And I often tell people, like, hey, don't self-therapize. Get multiple perspectives. Go to see a clinical professional. Make sure you get a different range of perspectives. That I don't want people sort of taking work that I've done or other people have done to just self-diagnose and say, this is what my problem is. I know this is it already. So how are you guys drawing the difference or drawing the line between a sense of self-awareness, because that's come up quite a lot. Like, what do I want? How do I be kind to myself? How do I preserve my boundaries while also making room for the other person and other things I want to do, right? So how do we draw the line between like self-awareness and self-deception, right? Where, I think I know everything about myself, and therefore I've got it figured out. I don't like these kinds of people. I'm not going to work with these kinds of people. I'm not going to do these things. I'm a XXYYZZ, people pleaser, right? Whatever term that you want to use. And then getting locked so into that I can't see a longer pattern, that maybe labeling myself is the pattern. Right? I keep trying to find a box to fit myself in, or an image to fit to. So how do you guys draw the distinction between self-awareness and self-deception? I saw Lucie about to unmute, actually. I saw your hand go forward. Do you want to go?
You can go. You can.
Your 480p hand lagged a little.
No, I was just thinking like, oh my God, I hope I don't have to answer this question because I don't know if I have the answer. So I was like, let Vojta speak. But now it's really important to see this, and the way I'm trying to, not get caught up in my own narrative too much is do check-ins with friends. Like when something is happening in my life, I like say the story from my point of view, and I like checking with them like, does it seems like similar, like what happened before, which is similar with what's happening now, or how do you see it? So I'm asking my friends or my colleagues, doing these check-ins with the other people. So yeah, there might be a story that I'm creating about myself, and I share it, and I just like trying to, get the other people's perspective too.
For me, this is like a question of like, I've been thinking about this for so long. It feels like there is this poem, and it's really weird. It's really weird. It's like okay, I have some type of belief which is cradled through years of doubt. So it's such a complex question because I don't wanna, I see what a lot of people do because, well, I'm next to Christoph, right? And what I see is he can over index onto the relativize a lot of stuff, and being even more like self-critical than me in some senses, and he can kind of be in the space of too sure or relativize stuff, and it's really hard to, and I feel like it could be really used in a sense of what I want, like in self kind of fulfilling whatever way. So
Instrumental way.
yeah, being next to that for a long time and just being myself, and I feel like I have this kind of naturally a bit being self-critical, but being there long enough that you don't over-index on the self-critical parts, and kind of so you have a certain belief that I don't believe 100%, but through the kind of inquiry, the tests of like, just how is this, is that right, I can get caught up in believing like too much in what I think, and I know that's and actually it's a price I have to pay for me to be able to live in the world, for me to be able to function, because it's also my biggest superpower. And so for me, it's the realization, oh, I have to pay this price, but I'm paying it in like a ecological way. It's not like, oh, I'm very like, I truly am trying to get to the, like, how is it? Whatever we are like, tell me what you think, tell me where I fucked up. Please tell me. I'm like, if I'm gonna be very humble, but if I think something, I can have a feeling that might be too strong, but through the years of doubt, I'll bet something, and I'll risk. And for me, this has been one of the most beautiful process I've been through my whole life, kind of. And I feel like it's not a life where you don't risk anything. It's never 100%. I'm not betting my life on it. I'm not betting but like, it's a type of bet.
Yeah. It has to have risk. It's not certainty. What you're talking about is at least not certainty.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And be like still being very careful, but like I've tended to over-index onto the self-critical, stuff. But through the years of that, I kind of uh, chisel the precision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Papa, I'm really shocked because Vojta, basically you just summarized an entire conversation that we had at lunch today, and I know like you're speaking to something that's very close to me because there's recently something that I felt is like when I say things, I can be very confident about what I say, right? Because there's a way in which I'm willing to stand behind it. But it doesn't mean that it's not correctable. Like the phrase that I use is like I'm very righteous about how wrong I could be. And I think that's speaking to that kind of like doubt that you're holding in pursuit of truth. So in the same way that I might go, okay, this is the principles and processes that undergird development, and if somebody comes in and goes, actually, that's not it. Look at this. I'll look at that and go, yeah, I'm really wrong. This is the thing that's really, and I'll be very confident about that. But there's a way in which, for me, that stopped for a long time. I felt very punitive about it. Like I would flog myself on the back about that, and then I'm a bit more back-footed. But nowadays, I particularly feel more. It's not so much a gung-ho-ness. It's not machismo. I'm like more celebrating it. Like I really enjoy when someone comes and tells, well, here's this evidence and I think you're misled. Like, huh? Holy shit. You know? And the more people that I have around me, right, like John, like Rick or Taylor, Ellie, right, the whole aspirant cohort, you guys, right, like the more folks that I have around who can help me check my shit, I feel more confident in the company I keep than in the propositions I possess. And that to me is just like the biggest blessing. I know we've moved away from like, oh, what are the benefits of TIAMAT? What's the learning outcome? I'm not very interested about that. What I am like more fascinated by is like the ways in which we are considering processes rather than the products of a particular workshop. That's why we have course curriculums. But yeah, I want to share that just because it was so open. Sorry, Papa, go ahead, because I know that we are almost at time, so I would love for you to round us off and take us home. Yeah.
Wow.
No pressure.
Pressure. I think I really resonated with the self-criticality that you were talking about, Vojta. For me, the premise of being able to check my self-deception genuinely is being able to have enough self-compassion, because something that okay without going too long, like coming from a dance background, there wasn't anyone who said good job or well done. I came from a background that was like, okay, you need to change this, you need to improve in this, you're not good enough at this. And then I went into after leaving that environment, I went into an environment where everyone was very positive and kind and caring, but then also we don't argue like that, like bad things unsaid, or if we want if we want to argue against something, we are very very careful and use a lot of words to be like, it might just be what I'm thinking, but just like very kind of careful to say it, nothing bad, nothing too bad or nothing too mean. And then now coming to this place, what I struggle with is that trying not to essentialize everything. So if I'm wrong, I'm just wrong. I'm not a failure, shit person, blah, blah, blah. Like not going into that spiral of like, oh, I will never be able to do it, the way that I want to do it. I've tried so many times and yet it never works. Like, being able to be like, wow, that's there. But also, I'm wrong. Shit. Okay, let me do better next time. and I still struggle with this. Like just a few days ago, I had double booked quite Ethan actually for some important event like my dad's birthday dinner, but also this quadrilogue. And then I was like, shit, and I can make excuse. Like in my head, a part of me is like, yeah, but I was so busy. I had so much work, It's understandable that I forgot it. And then on the other hand, it's like, you forgot it. You, and I was like, oh, I was really sad. And I cried for a bit. And then after crying, then I was like, okay, I guess. Okay, then I'll tell. Ethan can't come to the dinner because I made a mistake. So I'm really sorry. Yeah, but that's the situation. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry. Yeah, and then that's on my personal kind of level. And then we've also had some incidents recently that are a bit more kind of relational, that and required the ending of some relations, and then for those we bring to people who we know can help us deduce, like, okay, what's actually the issue here, what do you want, is there some, and we can ask them, is there something that we haven't seen, or did I miss something out, and just to be able to go through that process, I think it increases our interrogating our self-deception, increases our self-awareness, I would say, something like that. And I'm like super grateful to have this bunch of people whom we can talk to, including like when we talk about our personal experience in TIAMAT containers with you guys, or yeah, just in normal life as well. I have no idea how to close this. Please help.
I'll give you a hand. Yeah, I'll give you a hand. So, in a typical John Vervaeke fashion, I would like to give our guest the last word, as if that's much better. Yeah. So, but I do want to, before we sort of do that, like I really want to appreciate you guys sort of showing up and really, well, one, bearing with us for the technical difficulties, and I say for you guys showing up, including you guys who are watching, thank you so much. Even if you're watching this like asynchronously, I almost said posthumously, asynchronously, another day. I talk to and about a lot of dead people. So, I tend to say that a lot. Spinoza was only ever appreciated posthumously. Yes. So thank you all for staying with us, for watching this. Thank you, Lucie, Vojta, for like really toughing out the technical issues that we ran into. But at the same time, also like being really willing to kind of jump through different milestones that were coming forward as we were opening this up. And something that I really love is actually kind of how little it has to do with what happens in TIAMAT. Which I imagine might be disappointing for some of you who are listening, but there's a way in which I see what you guys, I see how TIAMAT has impacted you based on like the way that you're showing up rather than what you're talking about. And for that, I really appreciate it. There's a gentleness and a kindness and a lucidity with the way you each came forward. So thank you so much. I'll hand it over for last words. Thanks, guys. Like, please close it out and finish it off for us. Who wants to go first?
Well, thank you so much for the invitation and kind words, and it was lovely to see you and talk to you guys again. Yeah, that's about it. We would love to chat again to just catch up and just yeah, you just reminded me something we talked about with Joseph and Vojta, and then kind of a concept I would love to run through with you guys. So been thinking about it, so it would be interesting to chat. Anyway, thank you so much, and have a beautiful day.
See you want to take us home?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you guys again, because it's always a huge inspiration, and all the ideas we share and talk about, it's just great. And just something that, this whole talk reminded me is that I'm able to live more consciously and intentionally than before. And just seeing you doing all the projects and just having still this like curious approach that like, yeah, we are trying to do this, but let's see what's going to happen, and still learning in the process and becoming better and enjoying it, doing all the things that are happening is just amazing. And I'm really looking forward to see you again in person in some different project or something. It will be great. Have a nice time, and fingers crossed for all that's coming for you guys.
Thank you, everybody. Papa, do you want to say something before we close? Or
No, I don't actually.
no, you don't?
Like,
Okay. Because I want to plug the next one, because we have another Quadrilogue coming up next week, and that's December 13th. We'll start December 13th, right? Yes, it's
yes.
yes, correct. Math. So December 13th, same time as it was supposed to be, what it ended up being. And we have some special guests who are coming in to join us for that next week. So please, like, if you're not already, come join us on the mailing list, and then you can be informed about these as they go out. And then we also have some free workshops that are coming up online after we run these series of Quadrilogues. So we get to meet you, get to come and practice with us, and hopefully I'll see you guys there too. All right. Ciao, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Bye-bye. See you all next week.
Thank you.